Hey, my name is Lizzie Smiley, and I absolutely love helping people connect with their calling and all the tools they need to kick roadblocks and excuses right out the door so they can cultivate the life they dream about. If you want to launch, grow, pivot, or scale your Etsy shop, or you've always wanted to develop the mindset and skills to run your own business, then I'm your girl. I've had that entrepreneurial spirit going strong since my very first lemonade stand, and now I'm a work-at-home mama with multiple online companies and a full-time Etsy shop, all while being present with my kids for the everyday chaos and most important milestones. On this podcast, we'll talk about all things business, mindset, Etsy, creativity, dazzling our customers, and so much more. There's plenty of room at this table for you, so scooch on in and let's go. I'm holding nothing back. Welcome to How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. I'm so glad you're here. Hey friends, welcome back to the podcast this week. We are here with another Etsy success story, which you know I love. Your stories just tickle me to no end, and this one will not disappoint. So today on the podcast, we have Debbie Schaefer, who is the owner of WillowRoadCA on Etsy. I will link that and all of her links, of course, in the show notes for you. But Debbie makes Morse code bracelets. She has a jewelry shop on Etsy. She started back in 2015. And here's the thing about Debbie. She's incredible, you guys. She also runs 2 Denny's restaurants. How the woman has a full-time Etsy shop and runs restaurants, I will never understand. Her first year on Etsy, she had 50 orders and made $850 in sales. Last year, though, she had almost 1,600 orders and made over $74,000 in sales, even with the shop being on vacation mode almost 2 months. And as you can imagine, during the pandemic, managing a restaurant, she's had to do vacation mode a lot just to stay afloat. She's done amazingly. So she has one thing that's kind of cool. She's had numerous bestsellers over time in her jewelry shop, but she has one listing that has maintained the bestseller badge for the better part of 3 years, which is a big deal, y'all. And her bestseller has made her over $90,000. That's insane. There's so many really cool things about her story that you're going to enjoy. She has been featured on Bridescom in 2021, and she was featured in Good Housekeeping just this month before Mother's Day. And my goodness gracious, she's doing so many things right. I think there's a lot to learn in this. If you listen to some of those details in her stories and how she's handling things and how she's growing and some of the things that have made the difference, I think some of you are going to have some real aha breakthrough moments today. So enough of that. Let's welcome Debbie to the podcast. Oh, the story is going to be amazing. Well, hello, Debbie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad we get to do this.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm a fan. I love listening to your podcast. So this is like a huge treat for me.
What is so fun about Debbie and me is that the reason we met is I don't know if you guys remember, if you've been around for a while, many, many months ago, I had a drawing where you could put your name in the hat. If you did a review, if you put a review on the podcast, I put the names in a hat. And then I drew 2 people at the end who got a private coaching, like a free coaching with me, complimentary. And Debbie was one of the winners. And I was kind of chuckling, why did she even want any advice from me? Because her shop is freaking amazing. But we came up with some ideas. We had some fun, right, Debbie?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for that.
Oh, it was a blast. And I love seeing different shops like yours. And I still think it's fun, even when you're well established, to just have someone to bounce ideas off of. I know I've always appreciated that for my own businesses. So that was super fun. And then I was like, all right, Debbie, what are the odds I can talk you into being on the podcast? And here you are.
Well, and I'm excited to be here. And I loved our chat. And I was writing notes frantically, and had lots of great ideas after the chance that we had to talk.
It was fun. You have some really unique elements to your story that I'm excited we get to share today. So let's get into it because I know everyone's waiting. Tell our listeners a bit about your story. What is your background personally and professionally? Because it's different. Tell us about you.
Well, I'm probably pretty boring.
No.
But I'm a mom with grown daughters, and grandchildren, 4 grandchildren. And I've spent the most of my life doing the mom thing and working in a corporate restaurant environment. And I would never, ever have considered myself like the creative type person. Probably because I was so busy trying to keep the mom thing going on top of it and working full time. And it was like more than full time. It was like at the minimum about a 50-hour week. And so about 15 years ago, my husband and I decided that we were going to do the scariest thing that we have ever done in our lives. And we purchased two restaurants. The restaurant brand that I worked for was Denny's. And we had the opportunity, they were making some changes. And so we had the opportunity to purchase two Denny's. And so that's what we did. And that's what we've done for the last 15 years. And it's definitely been a roller coaster, a good roller coaster, but a scary roller coaster at times. And then kids are all grown, like I said. And about 7 years ago, I opened an Etsy shop and had no clue what I was doing for probably the first 2 years or even more. And it's just sort of evolved and transitioned in the last 7 years to where it is now.
Yeah, a lot. So I love your Etsy shop. I think it's so unique and so cool because you sell Morse code bracelets. Like you make them yourself. You sell these bracelets that show Morse code messages on them. And I think, people really, really love a personalized gift like that on Etsy. Like I sort of think you hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
How did you decide on that? It's brilliant. Like I would have never thought of that. How'd that come about?
I stumbled across it and I was looking for a new product because what I was hanging my hat on Etsy at the time wasn't what I truly wanted to be doing. And so, but I was still doing it, but I knew I wanted to expand and I knew I wanted to go out into different things. And so I was using search engines and looking for keywords and I would put in bracelet and see what would come up for bracelet. And all of a sudden, Morse code bracelet kept coming back. And I'm like, well, what is this? And then all of a sudden I started looking into it a little bit more and I saw some ideas and I saw some people that were doing some things with that. And they were mostly like wish bracelets on string. And so I decided that, this is pretty cool and it would be a pretty cool gift. And the personalization factor. And so I sort of worked with different types of materials and came up with something of my own.
I mean, you say it so casually. I know how much work went into this. Okay, so here's where this gets really exciting. I mean, as it is, personalized gift on Etsy, handmade, which we're seeing less and less of these days. But your bestseller has actually made you over $90,000. Like you have one specific bestseller. You have others obviously that bring in more, but this one bestseller has made you over $90,000, which is phenomenal, which is why I keep repeating myself because I still can't get my brain around it. Can you tell us what that's been like? And how did you come up with such a successful product?
Well, and I have to pat myself on the back just a tad because
Please
since
do.
we talked, it's now at $103,000.
What? Oh my gosh, that wasn't that long ago.
I know it's been nuts. And it was the perfect storm. It was absolutely the perfect storm that happened with this listing. And I had reached out to get some photos on a model because I couldn't, and that's a whole nother story in itself that we can talk about, but I take really, really bad pictures and I didn't have a model and I really thought it was important to have model pictures. And so everything takes longer than you plan. And I was scrambling and I'd finally gotten these pictures back and I was trying to get ready for the Christmas season. And I remember the exact day that I listed this because I got these photos in the morning and I'm slamming them into a listing on November 15th because it was my daughter's birthday.
November. Oh my goodness. Okay.
of 2019. Okay. And going, okay, I'm just going to do this. It's too late for Christmas, but I'm just going to do this just so I can just say it's listed and then we'll see what happens. And it was a really good picture. And it was just, it just hit the right momentum. And Etsy, I call Etsy, I call it the snowball effect.
Okay.
because sales breed sales on Etsy.
Yes.
And it's crazy how once something picks up, and I've watched over the years, I've watched things ride their wave, and usually they slow down. You know, all of a sudden something will become popular, and you'll just start selling it, and Etsy likes that, and then it puts it at the top, and sales breed sales on Etsy. Well, this one just never slowed down. It caught the tailwinds of the Christmas holiday, and it has just never stopped.
I cannot. I mean, okay, and you actually set up my next question, because um one of the things that I loved about your shop and your story was how you problem solve the photography piece. So I'm so glad you mentioned the model, because I think I like to hack things together. I'm the kind of I'm a figure it out person. You just figure this out on a next level. So I do want to I want to jump ahead a little bit and talk a little bit about how you handle the photography, because we all know it's critical. Like, we all know on Etsy you're not going to get very far unless you have great pictures. You identified this is not my gift. So you hired someone across the country. Can you talk about that experience of hiring a photographer and a model to make sure you have next level pictures? And like, what made you decide to do it? How did you select them? All those goodies, because it's a thought process that most of us never went through. I just tried to figure it out and took a lot of really bad pictures. So please educate us.
Well, I think my husband decided that I took really bad pictures.
They're great at that. Yeah.
And not that he would ever tell me that I took really bad pictures, but I cannot even begin to count the hours upon days, upon weeks that I tried to capture pictures. And
Wow.
some things come naturally to people and some things don't. And at that point in my life, pictures were not my strength. And I would try to learn, and I would go out, and I was making it more complicated than I needed to, but I would go out and try to have these elaborate settings with okay, let me put in the little leaf and all this stuff, and
all the staging, the props.
Yeah, get my props and my staging, and I can tell you that I did not understand light whatsoever. And when photographers say, you know, it's all about the light, it's like, okay, I know it's all about the light, but what about it? Because I can't find it. and I would go out, and I would take like 300 pictures, and I would come back, and I would try to edit them. And I ended up with these blue things and yellow things and
orbs,
nasty things and blurry things. And I would literally, and then I would, okay, let me try again. And then I remember at one point in time, and I'm taking them outside, and at the time I lived in this house that didn't really have a yard, and I didn't really have, and it was in the hills. And so my house was built on a hill. So I didn't have a lot of space, and I didn't have a lot of places that had light. But I'm trying all these different places all around my house to try to find the light to take this picture. And I finally found the perfect place. And it was in my driveway from 6:40 in the morning until 6:50 in the morning. I had like this 10-minute window.
The dusk before sunrise.
Perfect light. And then it was gone for the rest of the day. And I couldn't find it. And I was like chasing it around. And
I never find it. I am not up that early to take photos, Debbie, but keep going.
I was in my robe on my driveway taking pictures with these whiteboards, like trying to bounce light and do this and backgrounds, and the wind would come and knock it all over, and I'm crying. And my husband I think he just got tired of listening to me, and he just said, just pay someone. Just pay someone to take the pictures for you.
Wow. I mean, that was some good feedback, I guess. Monetarily, I'm looking at what thanks, hubby. I mean,
and it sort of resonated. It's like, because I don't have time to be taking 300 pictures a day, just to be deleting them, to be running out in my bathrobe at 6:45 in the morning in my driveway trying to find the light. I made the decision. Okay, I'm going to look at a photographer, and I started. And this is where my technically challenge comes into play really hard, because I started on Fiverr. That
Okay.
was that was the only thing I really knew. I'd heard about Fiverr, so I went on Fiverr, and I'm trying to look for a photographer, and I don't know what I did, but it says, are you not finding what you want? Well, why don't you try this? And so the next thing you know, I'm typing, I want a jewelry photographer, product photographer with a model. And so I'm typing this all in. And the next thing I know, I'm not even on Fiverr anymore. I'm on Upwork. And now I have just posted a request for looking for a vendor. I had posted a request for a photographer. I wasn't just doing a Google search. So the next
Wow.
thing you know, I've got all these people responding to me
Mm-hmm.
saying, "Okay, I'm a photographer. I can do this." And so I sort of did it by accident. But now I've learned that, I can go into Upwork. I've learned a lot about Upwork over time, and I've learned that, okay, I can go into Upwork and I can actually I know how to use their search now, where I can put in a search for what I want, and be able to, and I can do it both ways. You can put in a project and you can have people respond to you,
Okay.
or
Mm-hmm.
you can just look for who's already listed, and reach out to them. So
Okay,
that's what
so
I
you
did.
guys, some of you are probably wondering, what are we talking about? So there are websites out there that can help you connect with a certain skill set that you need, like things that you need to outsource. And Fiverr is spelled Fiverr.com, and that's a great place. I've used them to hire transcriptionists, people to create logos or images, and so it's where you can kind of connect with like some kind of expert in those areas that you need to outsource, and you can get it for pretty inexpensively, and you can work with people all across the globe, and you can see their ratings and their prices. And then Upwork is upwork.com, and that's another one I'm not as familiar with, but is that more about the US or is it all over? I feel like that one is easier to find someone locally. Is that true, Debbie?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, me either.
I think that Upwork will also go out of the US, but don't
Mhm.
quote me on that, because I'm not sure.
Okay.
Um,
I've heard that one's a little higher quality, but you're also going to pay more for Upwork. So it kind of depends on
yeah,
what you need and where you want to find them. But those are two really good resources for you guys. So you found, you then connected with this, you found someone across the country, right? You had to mail your jewelry to.
yeah, she was in Ohio. She still is in
You're in
Ohio.
California. She's in Ohio, and she's a product photographer, and she had a model
Yeah,
to
and
wear.
I had several people reply, and I will be very honest that I was still very broke. Um,
That's good to
and
know.
she is
Like,
not the first person I went with.
okay.
Um,
Oh, wow.
the first person that I went with, um, there were she's I asked for some samples. She gave me some samples of her work, and she was much cheaper, and I went with her.
Okay.
And when I got the pictures back, um, they were I could have done that,
Oh,
even
wow.
in my bathrobe at 6:45 in the morning, running around
Right,
my
right, right, right,
driveway.
right.
They were not the quality,
So
because
like vote of confidence,
anybody,
boost of confidence, like wow, I'm not that bad. Slash, why did I just waste that money?
yeah,
Right.
anybody can say that they're a photographer, and not everybody is.
Wow.
Um,
Lesson
and
learned.
so my first photographer did not go that well, but
Okay.
it was a good learning experience. And my second photographer, she had also replied, and she was more expensive, and she came with her own models. She had a portfolio of models, and so she says, once we decided to work together, and I had vetted her work, and I looked through her portfolio and said, okay, this is good. And then she actually gave me like a menu of models.
Wow.
And I got to pick my model. She had like maybe five, and I got to pick my model, which was amazing.
Yes. So do you think could we maybe learn from you for a second here? Like could knowing what you know now, how would you have chosen the right one to begin with? Do you think you were just so much looking at the price? I mean, was the first person's photography, did they maybe not provide real images that they took, or how do you think that happened?
I I'm wondering, or maybe that was
Okay.
maybe they were like me. Okay, this is the best shot I've taken, and it took me 7,000 pictures to get
Yeah,
this one
okay.
shot.
Wasn't a fair
Um,
example what they take regularly. It was like a lucky shot.
and so my learning from that was, it's okay to ask lots of questions.
Okay.
It's okay to ask for more samples
Okay.
of
Oh, I
their
love
work.
this. This is so
And
helpful.
I guess it also depends on what you need photographed. Because some things are probably easier to photograph than others. Um, and so if I had a crochet little animal or something, that might be a little bit easier to that was palm size or holdable size.
Yes.
That might be a little bit easier to photograph than a 6-inch bracelet that's
Yes.
less than 2 millimeters big, that's and the reflections that come off of metal and stuff. So
I hadn't even
part of
thought
it
about
also
that. Yeah, the
part
metal.
of it
Yeah.
depends on what you need photographed. So for me, it was really important that I had a jewelry photographer because the reflections off the metals can be tricky, and obviously
Oh
I
my
had not
god.
learned them.
Yeah.
And so the learnings would be to ask a lot of questions, ask to see the work. As so, what would you do, or give me some ideas of
How are you going to stage this?
how would you stage this? Um, and that's the biggest thing. It's okay to ask questions, and it's okay to start small and just start with maybe one piece. And okay, let me send you this, and let's see how it goes. And if it goes well, we'll do more.
So, okay, this is a silly question, but you obviously mail them the piece. They've got to take pictures of it where they live. Do they send it back? I don't know that that matters, but I'm just curious. Did you let them keep it or do they send it back or?
I let the photographer choose or I let the photographer and the model both choose a piece that they would like to keep,
Okay.
um, just as a gift. And then
I
yeah,
love this etiquette. Okay.
and then they sent the rest back. I had included a shipping label, and they sent the rest back
Okay.
after they were done.
See, I love these little details because otherwise you're kind of wondering like what's customary, what should I do? I love that. So they got to keep a little something, but then you provided the return label so they could easily get it back to you. How many pieces did you send all at once?
Um, I think because this is like 3 years ago,
Yeah.
or almost 3 years ago. I think it was. Um, oh, I know it was three.
Okay.
Um, for sure, because I have a picture of three bracelets on one wrist. But I think maybe to get the different angles and some different, I think maybe it was like 6 or 7 that I sent of the bracelets, but was pretty
Wow.
much was the same product, just in some different colors.
People shop on Etsy for the unique experience of getting something handmade, packaged with care, and just way more meaningful than an average purchase, right? And since we Etsy sellers are completely obsessed with our packaging, and we know how much thoughtful packaging improves our customers' unboxing experience, I am super excited to introduce you to the brand No Issue. All one word, all lowercase, NOISSUE, No Issue. No Issue makes eco friendly, yay, and customizable packaging that is totally affordable for small businesses and Etsy sellers. Hello, next level branding for your shop. So that means that you can literally get a design that you created, something gorgeous you find on Canva, your logo, whatever you like, physically printed on your packaging materials. And if you're not naturally gifted at design, which is 100% me, they have great tools right on the site to help you do it. No Issue literally has everything you need for your packaging, you guys. Like, they have tissue paper, washi tape, polymailers, stamps, stickers, boxes, food safe paper if you're a food provider, and the list goes on. I couldn't fit it all here and not make this forever long. So, y'all need to know that my clients rave about this company. It's the best way you can up your packaging game while also being environmentally friendly and set your shop apart by leveling up that customer experience. And not to mention your photo possibilities with your cute new packaging materials, like Hello Instagram. So if you've been buying your tissue paper at Walmart and your poly mailers from Amazon, try no issue instead. It's still affordable, it's so much cuter, and the earth will thank you for making an eco-friendly choice. Grab their link in the show notes and get ready to send serious happy mail to your customers. Okay, I know I'm totally being nosy, but also, were you nervous sending them off? Like, am I ever going to see these again? Am I going to get ripped off? How did you kind of, get around all of that? Or how did you make sure you could trust them? Or
I felt a lot more comfortable because it was on Upwork.
okay,
And
interesting.
because I got to see her work history and her reviews.
Yes, and knowing you could leave a review, like, P.S. like sent
Yeah.
$800 or whatever worth of jewelry and never got it back. Or I know I'm just
I
making
mean,
up a number, but
if I had, I mean, I wouldn't have had such confidence if it was on like Craigslist or something like that.
yes,
But I had confidence because she was like a top rated photographer. And she had really good reviews and a lot of them. And she had been established. It tells you, I believe it tells you how long they've been on Upwork and how many jobs they've completed. You get some good information from Upwork.
this is so good, Deb. This is a conversation we've never had on the podcast. It's so good. And here's the thing. This, like, that extra work for you and that expense has paid off. We're talking over 100K.
Oh yeah, it's the best thing I did.
Yes. And then, I mean, here's the thing too. We talked about this in the intro, but you being featured on Brides.com in 2021 and Good Housekeeping just this month. Why? Because your photos are awesome and other people, like big publications like that, are attracted to that and they want to help promote it because it's good content for them too. I mean, it's what is that like? Like being featured, having your product like that featured in a huge publication. I mean, tell me about that.
Well, okay, the first time
Yeah.
it was for brides.com, I didn't even know it. Um, because it was during the pandemic and I was so focused on just juggling, trying to keep the restaurants going
Yes.
during the pandemic and keeping up on orders that I was not even paying attention to my traffic and where it came from. And then all of a sudden, I don't even remember when, how, why, what, but all of a sudden it's like, well, let me go look at my traffic. And let me see where my searches are coming from. And because I don't do a lot of social media, I don't do any social media right now. I've been really inactive. Not that I don't want to. It's just been
Because it's a whole second job.
It's a little bit of a juggling game right now.
It, but a whole other job.
And so I don't pay a lot of attention to my traffic because I know it all comes from Etsy, typically, because I'm not doing anything to make it happen. So all of a sudden, I don't even know I had extra time one day and it's like, well, let me go peek around and see what's going on. And I went and it's like, oh my gosh, I have all these searches from brides.com. And so I went, it's like, and I started researching it and I started digging a little bit farther. It's like, oh, I've been on there for like 6 months already. And I didn't even know it, but, it's brides.com is, it's a lot of different articles and it's a lot of gift guides. And so I was sort of in the top gifts for your sister-in-law at your wedding.
Wow.
But it's made a difference. I had barely even broken into the wedding type, products. I mean, I had some, but they really weren't selling. And I since then I have noticed a definite increase in that. And then the Good Housekeeping one, that one I noticed the biggest impact because that just happened. And all of a sudden between Mother's Day and graduations and that, I've been going nuts for the last 3 weeks, just nonstop in the shop. And so it's definitely made an impact. Almost to the point it's like, okay, can it sort of slow down?
Yeah, that's when I pull up the vacation mode for a few weeks.
Yeah,
and
I know everything's going to taper off as soon as summer hits. I mean, that's the time that everything tapers off. And so I've extended my shipping times out a little bit to try to make up for it. And but I don't really want to put it on vacation because I figure like this is my last and plus if I just got listed in a gift guide, it's like the
Yes.
last thing I want to do is, oh, this shop's on vacation.
Yeah. Ride
um
the wave. Ride the wave.
yeah, so I
Hire
just
some high schoolers this summer to come make bracelets or something.
I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, and it's I'm feeling almost, it's almost to the point where it's like part of Christmas, except for I'm not prepared for it. I wasn't
Right.
prepared
You
for
didn't
this
brace yourself
like
for it. Yeah.
like I prepare for Christmas. So yeah, it's been busy this week and last week and the week after.
This is perfect because another question I had for you, a topic I thought we should touch on, is how you balance a full-time shop with running restaurants. I mean, honestly, Debbie, where is your Superwoman shirt? Is it hiding under your blouse? Because like, is your sweater a cape? I don't understand. How do you juggle that? I mean, that's not normal. How do you do it? Tell
Well,
us.
you're giving me a lot of credit, but you don't see me going running around in
Okay.
circles sometimes.
You're
It's
the duck paddling underneath the water like
yeah,
crazy, looking
yeah,
all
that
peaceful.
um it's very, very carefully.
Okay.
Um and I guess sometimes you just I do a lot of planning.
Okay.
And one of my biggest strengths and one of my biggest weaknesses is I'm an overachiever. So I'm always trying to do too much. And I always put too much on my plate. And my daughters always look at me and roll their eyes and go, Mom, you realize you cause this stress yourself, right? And it's like, yes, I know, but I thrive under stress. Um, and, but I have learned to tone down. I have learned to, I do a lot of planning at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
I plan the goals for the restaurants. I plan the goals that I want to get done for Willow Road. And then I tone them down. I've learned,
You ramp them back, huh?
yeah, because it's like I can take like a year's worth of goals and say, okay, I want to get these done in 45 days. And I've realized that okay, things just life happens and pandemics happen and things just are not going to go always the way you want them to. And so I've learned I'm still an overachiever, but I've learned to slow down my pace. Um, and try to be a little bit more realistic in my goals. And I think the biggest thing that the pandemic has taught me is sometimes things just aren't going to happen the way you plan them.
Yeah.
And just do the best you can right now, and that's okay.
Hmm. That's
Uh,
good.
and it's okay because I had decided in 2019 when I introduced in the middle of 2019 is when I wanted to rebrand and I wanted to do this big shift of what I was doing. And man, if you would have seen my goals for 2020, they were crazy. I mean, I was just from full blown going on social media to
Wow.
15 product lines to learning new techniques for another new product line to opening my own website. I mean, it was probably 5 years worth of goals for just a normal person. And I was going to get them all done in 2020. And then in March, the pandemic hit and I just had to completely shift focus. I had to close my shop down, put it on vacation mode, probably for over 4 months, or 5 months that year, just because I had to focus on the restaurants. And so the best thing that it's taught is just, keep going forward, but sometimes it's okay if you don't get everything done exactly the way you wanted and when you wanted to get it done.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I just can't imagine the juggle. I mean, it's sort of, and I wouldn't compare it, but it's sort of like trying to juggle motherhood full time and a business full time. So your kids are grown. So it's like you've got your two,
I don't
your
know.
two lives.
I have 80 employees and they're sort of like raising kids too.
Are they? Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure, especially through a pandemic. I'm sure it took extra love and care. And then my guess is you dealt with all kinds of staffing challenges like so many other restaurants did. I don't remember, do you have anyone helping you in the Etsy shop at all?
Mostly no. I had I did bring in help, not last Christmas, which I should have last Christmas, but I didn't. But the Christmas before, I did have someone come in for a day and help me. And I will next Christmas. And I know, and after going through it for a couple seasons, I know where better to use the help and how they can be more productive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I probably will, just so I can keep the momentum going. Um, and not have to, I like to, when my dad used to say, when the fish are biting, keep on fishing, or something like
Yes.
that. And so I do try to push it to the limit, like at Christmas time, when you know that you've got that captive audience that people want to buy things. So I do try to push it through and get as many sales through as I possibly can during those peak holiday times.
Okay, so you're way more of a planner than I probably am. So do you, gosh, especially with all you juggle, do you have specific tips for people at the Christmas season? I mean, I know you're getting hit right now from this good housekeeping run, so you couldn't plan for it so much, but like when you know Christmas is coming and you're going to have this big boom, how do you manage that craziness? What are your systems?
You plan, you plan, you plan.
Like your time, are you kind of planning, like you're planning how you're going to space your time out, or like is that about having, ordering supplies in advance, or what is like the practical of that?
All of the above. And
Mm-hmm.
I start preparing for Christmas in July.
Okay.
Um, and
Are you
and
working ahead, making stuff ahead of time?
and everything is pretty much made to order because
Wow.
because everything is
It has to be.
customized.
It has to be.
It has to be because it's, I mean, it's whatever bracelet length you want, it's whatever saying you want, it's whatever
Oh,
colors you want. So it's pretty much made. It has to be made once the order is placed. But there's a lot that I do in my packaging. And so I do all of that prep and get everything ready in July, August, September, in the slower months. So literally I've got like 1,000, 1,500 boxes ready. Um,
wow.
for when the Christmas season hits, and all of the little, I mean, I do a lot of little extras, and stuff envelopes and put little care cards and stuff. And so I get all of that stuff done during the summertime when it's slower and get that ahead of time. Um, and then after my first Christmas, um, I put together a list of every single thing that I used, even down to the tissue paper and the packing boxes and the tape,
Okay.
and the different components. And so that's my shopping list. And I start building that up in July, August, in the summertime. Um, so I don't forget anything. And now I've learned, after like my very first Christmas, I was not expecting it to be that busy. And I can remember having to stop like 3 times going, oh my gosh, do I have enough supplies to even make the orders that I have right now? And I,
Yeah.
and I would be frantic. I would like sit down and count them, going, counting. Okay, I know this is how many. And I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous, because I spent an hour counting these little itty bitty teeny weeny pieces. It's like, okay, I need to, and then I'd place these overnight orders. Um, well, now I've got a formula where I pretty much know, okay, if I'm going to sell 100, I just batch it in hundreds. If I'm going to sell 100, this is how many pieces I need, and then I keep them together. Um,
Okay.
so I never have to go back and I'll order. It's like, okay, this is 100, this is 100. So now I've got 10 bags of these, so I can make 1,000 gold bracelets. Um,
Your
and
poor hands. I don't even know.
So now I don't have to sit there and count, wondering. And I again, I start ordering my supplies in July, and slowly start building up, so that by October I have everything that I need to get me through the Christmas season.
Mm-hmm. And you're not having to worry, but you've got enough to go,
And I'm not.
enough to keep you
I've got
busy.
enough. I've got enough to get through the busiest season and not have to worry about the supply chain,
Yes.
breaking down. Which actually I'm building up right now, because I'm sort of freaking out,
Right.
about the supply chain. So I've just like humongously increased the amount that I keep on hand. So I'm keeping like 3 months worth on hand
It feels
because
really
I'm nervous.
unpredictable. I agree with you. Yeah. Okay, so the other thing I really love about you, because it's really rare, is like you're this busy powerhouse woman, and yet you're still choosing to hand make your jewelry rather than use a print on demand model. Which these days, a lot of my listeners are really interested in print on demand because they're trying to simplify their life. They want to add the other stream of income. They want the creativity piece, but they don't have time to be making products. So, can you please talk to us about that decision? It's a huge one, and I really respect it. I'm not saying, and for those listening, I'm not saying print on demand is bad or wrong. I just also really appreciate when someone wants to get back to that down home, earthy, made, handmade. It makes it such an extra special gift. So I would love to know your thought process behind that.
And I looked at print on demand, and
Yeah.
I've thought about it, and come to the conclusion that it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and part of the reason that I may not want to admit to, but now I'm going to, is that control freak side of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, a little bit of that control freak. I don't want something coming out with my name that I don't have complete control of. So there's part of that
Okay.
there is that underlying part of that that is true. I think the bigger part for me is I sell a product, but more so I sell an experience.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Love it.
Right.
Okay.
And it's I mean everything now is so impersonal, and it's so hustle bustle and busy and chaotic. And yeah, I need something, I can go on Amazon and I can order something and I can have it at my doorstep in a day, but there's no variations of it. There's no, hey, but could you do this maybe? And if it's a gift, it's going to arrive in a poly mailer with it's it's not an experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I am in the my I am in the gift giving experience industry. So that you can come to Willow Road and you can know and be so proud that you're going to get this gift that is not in a poly mailer. It's got extras in it, little extra things and extra touches to make it so that when the recipient gets it, even if you're your own recipient, because we all deserve to get gifts, but when the recipient gives it, it's going to be an unboxing experience.
Yeah.
And it's going to be surprise. Oh, well, I get to open this, and oh my gosh, look at, okay, let me go through all the tissue paper and oh my gosh, look at this. And so, and you're never going to get that out of print on demand. You're going to get
Mm-hmm.
a box and a poly mailer. And you're not going to get the personal touches, and the level of customer service. I do so many extra little details, that couldn't be done in like print on demand. And some people probably wouldn't do them, going, okay, I'm too busy for that. But
Right.
that's what's allowed me to have raving fans of so many repeat customers, because they know that they can come to me and be like, hey, Debbie, can you put this message in all 11 packages that are being sent out? Because last week I had somebody that ordered them for their soccer team, for all the graduating seniors, and they
Oh.
wanted a personal message in every single package. And so, sure, I'll do that for you, no problem. And so those you just can't do those with print on demand. And I just want to go back to that. Let me take care of you, like somebody's walking into an online boutique, that
Yes.
they're going to get that extra little care and service and attention and personalization. And no, I'm not Amazon. Or
Mm-hmm.
does that make sense?
It does. And you know what? There's a place for both.
Yeah, because I
The
order
two
from
and I
Amazon
both.
all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. But there are plenty of times when I'm thinking, I need to get a quick gift. What am I? Not even quick. I need to get a gift. I need to have it shipped to this person. I don't really want to have it to sent here. And then I need to package it and figure all that out and then ship it out again. That feels like I love that there are still people like you making it so I can create that experience for the person I want to give a gift to, and it feels extra special. It feels like extra thought went into it. So there's a place for both. And I just love stories like yours because I think that's kind of, Etsy can do so much now. It's such a massive platform and has so many shoppers and so many sellers. You can find whatever you want there. But it started as this, what you're doing, what I used to do with the signs, making, hand making something, hand wrapping something.
Mhm.
There's a special note on it. And I just love that that is still part of the experience. And I want the audience to know that if there's a part of you that just, you kind of go Joanna Gaines a little bit and you want to get your hands in something and you like that feeling, there's a huge market for it on Etsy. And you can kill it because there's a lot fewer of you now, Debbie, than there are print on demand or a digital file or something like that. That's going to be, that's going to feel like more of a big box experience rather than a boutique experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what else did I really want to, oh, you know what that was going to lead into? I know. I wanted to talk with you about customer service because I personally think it's super underrated. I think it was a huge pillar for where I've gotten my shop to. Do you have any, you clearly, I know, and from talking to you before, I know this is a pillar for you too. It's an important thing to you too. So can you share some tips on how new sellers can really build their business on great customer service? I think that's something you do so well.
Um, I think building the trust,
Mm.
um, building the trust with your customers, and to do that, it's just there's a lot of different ways you can do that. And first and foremost, just do what you say you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you have this listed as a shipping time, make sure you ship it by this time. Um, Answer questions for your customers ahead of time. Like if you have certain questions that always come up, answer them ahead of time in your descriptions, letting them know, okay, what's going to happen. One of the things that I still do, and it's really, really hard, but I still do it for every single order. As soon as I get an order, I send them out a message
Yep.
letting them know what to expect.
Same. Yep.
Um,
Every single time.
every single time. And letting them know what day it's expected to ship, if they have any questions. And and I've been doing that from day one,
Mm-hmm.
like from 7 years ago, just because I thought, well, Etsy's a lot more well known now than it was 7 years ago, 10 years ago,
Yes.
however many years ago. 50, I think it's been around for, maybe 15 or more years. But it's a lot more well known now. But 7 years ago, I'd barely even heard of Etsy. And so it's like, okay, if I did this, what would I want? Well, I would want to know, did somebody get my order?
Yeah.
Did this actually go through? Does somebody have this? Is it,
Yes.
and this, so that's what made me start. Okay, thank you so much for your order. This is the next steps, and then I put in a plug. Hey, follow me on social media, but keeping them abreast of what's going on. And then I think the biggest thing in customer service would be how you handle an oops
Right.
when something goes wrong.
And it will.
And it will. As embarrassing it is, things go wrong and a bracelet breaks or something happens or you send out the wrong colors or all of a sudden you went on all of, I've made lots of mistakes, unfortunately. But it's how you handle that mistake. And some people don't belong in the customer service business in how they handle when something goes wrong.
Yes.
And it's like, well, I mailed it. That's my responsibility. Well, it got lost in the mail and the customer didn't get it. And what would you do my biggest thing is, how would I want this handled if this happened to me?
Yes.
And every single situation that I've had where something's sort of gone sideways is like, how would I want this handled if I were in that situation? And then ramp it up one level,
Right.
and do that to exceed to exceed the customer's expectation, because that's what gets you raving fans. That's what
Yes.
keeps them from what takes them from a customer to a raving fan. That comes, it's just the foundations, and it's been ingrained in me in all my years of restaurant business. Things happen. It's how you fix it that makes the difference.
Those sometimes turn into the best stories. I mean, and that's not just going to get you the 5-star review. That's going to get you, they're going to buy from you every single gift they need for the next 3 years.
Absolutely. And that just locks in the trust. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I know that I can trust that this person's going to do what they said they did and make anything right if something went wrong, and I'm not even going to look anyplace else. This is my go-to.
And I'll admit, even when it's cost me money, I have never regretted just going above and beyond for that cut. Like, it has never backfired. It has always been worth it. It's always made up for itself, really taking care of them, whether it was my fault or not. I love that. I have the same exact mentality. And then the other thing, Debbie, is that I would love to hear what kind of general success tips you have for a new seller. I mean, I guess specifically in the jewelry space, but just generally on Etsy. You're still just having so much success on there. I love everything about your shop. What would you tell someone just starting out?
Just do it. Don't be afraid. Well, don't be afraid to try.
Yeah.
And just do it. Take one big jump into the pool and do it. And I think you've said this, or you've had guests that have said this. Done is better than perfect.
Yes.
It took me over 6 months from the time that I decided I'm going to open an Etsy shop, to the time that I actually did open an Etsy shop.
Wow.
And I could have probably done it in a day. Looking back, you don't have to wait until everything's absolutely perfect.
Right.
Because it never will be.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you think it's absolutely perfect, everything evolves. And once you get it the way you think you're going to want it, it's going to change. You're going to want to change it again. I'm still evolving. I went through a huge rebranding 3 years ago, and I'm twisting things and turning them and evolving again, because now it's like, okay, well, I like this, but I just want to tweak it and shift it. So it's always going to be a work in progress. Just jump in, and done is better than perfect, because it's just always going to be an evolution. And for the jewelry business specifically, that just happens to be like one of the major overly saturated
You think so?
markets it's hugely saturated. You go in and put jewelry into the search bar and watch the millions upon millions of search results come up. But even though it's oversaturated, there is still room on Etsy for everyone.
I agree.
I
just had a coaching client who started a jewelry shop, and she took off. I'm begging her. She knows who she is, Jackie. I'm begging her to come on the podcast, because everyone thinks you can't get an edge in the jewelry market, but you can. She just started and she took off.
There is room for everyone. You just got to find your thing, and find what makes you special and unique, and run with it. So don't be afraid. And what's the worst that can happen? So just go for it.
You keep tweaking, you keep testing.
Yeah.
You keep trying. You don't put so much pressure on the whole thing that it's got to save the world. You treat it like a laboratory. You're experimenting.
Absolutely. And I've created some things that were duds. It's like, okay, this didn't work. And
same.
You try them and you phase them out, and then but it's this constant learning experience where you learn what ends up working well, what didn't work well. And don't beat yourself up. If you follow your dreams and do it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. So good, Debbie.
Thank you.
So good. So tell us, where can the listeners find you, connect? Where are you on the interwebs?
I'm on Etsy. Still haven't gotten my website up. It will happen. I think I'm planning on 2024 now. But you can find me on
Fair.
Etsy, WillowRoadCA, and the same on Instagram and Facebook. And I'm hoping that as soon as I get through this graduation rush, I want to get back to being a little bit more active and having some fun on Facebook and Instagram. But you can also find me at WillowRoadCA on both of those.
Amazing. I know that they're going to be looking all over at that. Thank you for sharing it. This has been so fun, Debbie. Your story is unique. Everyone's is, isn't it? This is so cool, but we can learn so much. And I love everything you shared. I'm kind of sad it's over. I'm kind of shocked it's over. But thank you for your openness and your willingness. And it's been so fun becoming friends with you.
Thank you so much. I have absolutely had a blast. And I learned so much from your podcast. I love listening to it every week.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored. See, I love it when established sellers want to listen. You guys, hit me. If you're an established seller, hit me up. Like, you might be a perfect podcast person. Like, I'm so grateful Debbie was so willing. Like, your stories, we all learn so much from them and from each other. And new people and people who are too scared to try and people who are super established are all listening. So thank you, all of you. I can't believe you're here with me. I'm feeling emotional. So thank you, Debbie. It's been a blast, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care. See you soon.
You too. And that's a wrap on this episode of How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're looking for more resources, head on over to howtosellyourstuff.com, where you'll find podcast show notes, all the links from today's episode, the blog, courses, coaching, and more. If this episode was helpful to you, awesome. The greatest compliment I can receive from you is a rate, review, and subscribe on this podcast. Not only will it allow us to connect again on a future episode, it lets me know I'm providing you with value and helps other people find this content more easily. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your support. Have a great day and see you next time.